we do is provide specialist expertise, and not surprisingly, around working with children and families. Also, we work with a lot of troubled families and early help teams. We work across schools, offending, etc. So they've all got targets, and they generally move just like this. And obviously, after the election, things potentially were going to change, which is why we thought, let's have this after the election, not just beforehand. So because we see the picture from lots of angles, from a training perspective and from a consultancy perspective and from a research and evaluation, I think that we sort of join this circle. So I think that we bring those all together and see the whole picture, and that each of our work informs the other. And that made us think that, because we know that working the whole family way is the only way, it's sustainable. All of you are working with the same children, you're working with the same families, it's all the same partners involved, and it's ultimately all the same pot of money that's involved. It's all public money, and we've all got to do the best for it. So my thinking then was, well, let's try and join all of that today, and let's have an opportunity to connect those agendas and have a think about something that might be outside of our normal area of work, that just makes you think differently potentially. Hear a bit about some evidence. Certainly John's going to be talking about some of that, and we're going to hear some evidence later in the workshops, hear what's going on nationally, and then also to share some good practice. And I think for some of you it's just, when we spoke to one person this morning, it's just really nice to get out and have a bit of time to think about things outside of my day job, so I'm hoping that you're going to get that out of it. And then just to hear other people's perspectives. So that was my plan, to connect agendas and challenge the system.
Let's begin to think about some of the prevailing orthodoxies, some of the ways that we're used to working, and say, is this the right way? Is this policy really the appropriate one? And crucially, how does my particular part of the professional community concerned with the well-being of young people actually fit? And how we may need to abandon certain deeply held thinking about how we work. We may need to move into some very challenging areas in order to secure the young.
But what I wanted to do was do three things really. Just go back a little bit and remind ourselves why we got into all this. So what was the original thinking behind this? See a little bit about what we've learned from phase one of the troubled families, about families and about the approach to work with the families, and then just comment a little bit on the results, where we've got to in terms of phase one. But then, as you would expect, move into phase two. We're going to start phase two and talk about the criteria, what's going to be different about phase two. And then finally, maybe at this stage of the game, reflect on some of the lessons we think we've learned from phase one and
Youth Justice Board. Really encouraged to hear about the focus on service transformation. Are you going to be sort of monitoring the level to which that is happening, and what you see as a sort of how we can introduce some sort of a success criteria, or what it should look like?
This is a really important subject. Early intervention, early help, as we refer to it in the primary review, families with multiple problems, or troubled families project as it's now called, attachment science and so on, are all becoming part of the mainstream, and also in the language of politics and what goes on in the House of Commons and political scenarios around the country as well. And I believe the Troubled Families programme, of which you've heard much earlier, is a huge potential game changer for our families and for society as a whole. Each of those problems was sown well before she had her own children, effectively. And so what we need to do is actually, I think, to have a pre-troubled families programme. The problem starts in the womb, and the sooner we intervene to remedy poor parenting potential and to encourage strong attachment, the more likely we are to have our children develop into well-balanced, well-grounded members of society, which is what we want. I'll just end on the recommendations that we made in our report. 9 main recommendations. Firstly was about political commitment, urging all of the political parties to make an undertaking to adopt the 1,001 days approach. Secondly, a local commitment requiring all local authorities, CCGs and health and wellbeing boards to adopt and implement a 1,001 days strategy.
Also about educating our parents to be, isn't it? Should that education start in school, understanding brain development? Is it, where we need to start this at school at education.
The changes that we made was the staff restructure that we did, and actually making it clear that we had a shared philosophy and a kind of collective responsibility for making that change.
So right from the start, we wanted to make it clear and to share what our core philosophy is. And we have 4 words that really summarise exactly what we are all about as an academy. And those are achieve, aspire, create and innovate. With students taking leadership and making a difference themselves. So the Union of Venture Students decided they wanted to run something called Guilds. And this is them putting on clubs and societies and things that they're interested in.
It's one of the first times nationally where there's been a lead local authority person working on the organised crime agenda, I think, anywhere in the country. It's clear that we needed to take a Greater Manchester approach to this, but not just about setting up a separate approach to tackle organised crime in a silo. What we needed to do really was place the organised crime agenda right in the middle of the public sector space and to fit alongside the work that was already going on around public service reform. As I said, weren't picked up in Troubled Families 1, but now we've widened the scope and we're taking referrals from police based upon links to organised criminality. We're finding that we've got an opportunity to engage with many more families who previously would not engage with services. Actually, what we found is by having the joint working behind that, in terms of referrals from the police, in terms of links with schools, in terms of sharing the intelligence and understanding around young people and their experience in that place, then we've gone a lot further in terms of the engagement and the strength of that multi-agency approach.
You're typically dealing with women and issues around their children from around anything between 40 and 60 local authorities. So this is the problem with host and home. We're in their home, in the prison, with them, sometimes with the babies, if there's a mother and baby in it, but we're there. The services for their families are scattered around the country, so it's very challenging. So there are key stages really for children affected by this, and so one is arrest, a key point of a key issue around remand and sentencing. A parent may have been doing some naughty things, may have been quite chaotic, but ultimately the parent has been removed. So many children feel real trauma and lost that experience. We've had a bit of a breakthrough this year in that with the support of the Ministry of Justice, there's now new guidance on every magistrate's bench. Now you might not think this guidance should be necessary, but it is, which is that, guess what, not every parent that you send to prison will have made appropriate arrangements for their child. And more to the point, how to make sure that your school recognises that something like 1 in 7 of the children in the school will have a family member go into prison at some point during their school life.
My challenge, I think, to get across to people, and I deliver training on safeguarding, sometimes to a multi-agency team, but it's getting over that barrier of information sharing. So I'm quite interested in if you have any views on how to overcome or build some confidence in our practitioners to share information more effectively.